Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever feel like you're drowning in information, wishing there was just a quicker way to uh, grasp the really powerful ideas? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're tackling a big one, maybe a controversial one, from the 48 Laws of Power. It's Law 7, getting others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Hmm.
Now, stick with us. Understanding this, how it really works, it can be a shortcut, to figuring out the professional world a bit better.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've got quite the mix. We're looking at the chapter itself, obviously,
Yeah.
but also pulling from history, some really old fables, even philosophy. We're aiming to pull out the key bits, the insights from all these different angles.
Right. So the big question is, how do we actually get our heads around a principle that kind of goes against everything we're taught about, teamwork and being fair? What does it really look like in action? Okay, let's unpack this. So, Law 7. The book puts it very bluntly. Use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. It goes on. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. And the kicker, never do yourself what others can do for you. Wow. Okay, let's start with someone who really didn't get this and paid a price. Nikola Tesla, brilliant guy, Serbian scientist, lands in America, 1883. Gets hired by Thomas Edison almost immediately, and Edison makes him this huge promise, right? $50,000.
A massive sum back then.
Exactly, to redesign Edison's, well, pretty basic dynamos.
And Tesla, he just throws himself into it. Works like crazy for a whole year. And he nails it. Comes back with this vastly improved design, automatic controls, the works. He goes to Edison expecting the payout, and Edison, he just laughs.
Laughs.
Yeah. Reportedly says, Tesla, you don't understand our American humor. No $50,000, just a small raise.
Unbelievable. But Tesla's big ideas didn't stop there, did they? He was obsessed with alternating current, AC. Even though Edison was all in on direct current, DC. Edison wouldn't back the AC work.
Right. But then George Westinghouse saw the potential.
Mm-hmm.
He offered Tesla this really generous royalty deal for his AC system patents. And that system, well, it's basically what powers the world today. Still the standard.
Amazing potential. But the story takes another turn.
It does. Because even though Tesla had the patents in his name, somehow the credit started to slip away. Other scientists claimed they'd done the early work. The public started linking AC more with Westinghouse. And then things got even worse. J. Pierpont Morgan tried to take over Westinghouse's company.
The financier.
Yep. And Westinghouse was forced to basically tear up Tesla's royalty contract. They convinced Tesla to take a buyout, something like $216,000 for patents. They were probably worth, what, $12 million even then? So the money men, they stripped him, took the riches, the patents, and ultimately, yeah, a lot of the credit too.
And it wasn't just AC, was it? There's the whole radio story, too. Everyone thinks Marconi invented radio, right? His 1899 broadcast across the English Channel.
But Marconi's device fundamentally relied on a Tesla patent from 1897. He used Tesla's core ideas.
So Tesla gets no money, no real credit for radio either, and he invented the induction motor. He's arguably the real father of radio, but his name isn't the one people remember. And he ended up, well, pretty poor.
Yeah, the bitterness really comes through later.
Yeah.
In 1917, they offered him the Edison medal. Can you imagine? And he refused it. He said something like, you want to pin a medal on my coat while my mind and its creations starve for recognition. He pointed out that their whole institute was basically built on his work. Powerful stuff.
Wow. So when you look at Tesla's whole story, what does it all mean in the context of this law? What was his big mistake?
I think Tesla genuinely believed that science was, pure, above the fray. He didn't care about fame or money or politics. He thought the work would speak for itself. But that idealism, ironically, kind of destroyed his legacy in the public eye. He wasn't associated strongly with any one thing, despite his genius. And he tried to do it all himself. He burned out.
Which is just the complete opposite of Edison, isn't it? Edison wasn't shy about, well, let's call it borrowing ideas. He even admitted it.
Oh, absolutely. Edison was pragmatic. He wasn't necessarily the deep scientific mind Tesla was. He famously said he didn't need to be a mathematician. He could hire one. That was his genius, really. Spotting the opportunity, finding the best people, putting them to work. He was a master promoter, a businessman. He even said something like, everybody steals. I've stolen a lot myself, but I know how to steal. And look at the result. Edison's name is everywhere.
Okay, so the contrast couldn't be clearer. And this leads us to the sort of two-fold lesson the law presents. Here's where it gets really interesting. Lesson 1 seems to be secure the credit. It's maybe even more important than the invention itself. You have to be watchful Maybe even ruthless. Keep things quiet until you know you're protected from, well, the book calls them vultures.
Right. Protect your work. Don't let others just swoop in. And lesson 2 builds right on that. Leverage the work of others. Life's short, time's precious. Trying to do everything yourself just wears you out. Conserve your energy. Find ways to build on what's already there. The vulture idea isn't just a warning, it's almost an instruction. Understand the game, protect yourself, maybe even learn to play it when you need to. If you have a solid base, it saves so much effort.
There's a great fable that illustrates this idea of getting credit without doing the work. The tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo.
Yeah, the tug-of-war story.
Exactly. The elephant is arrogant, steps on the tortoise. Tortoise is fine, then challenges both the elephant and the hippo to separate tugs of war. He cleverly gets them pulling against each other using a long rope while he hides.
Neither can move the other because they're equally strong.
Right. Then the tortoise strolls out, having done zero pulling, and takes credit for being as strong as both of them. Perfect example of never do yourself what others can do for you.
And this isn't just fables. You see it in serious philosophy, too. Like the ancient Chinese thinker Han Feitsu. He used this analogy of a hunter. A hunter with a carriage, 6 horses, and a great driver like Wang Lang can catch fast animals easily without getting tired. But if he ditched all that and tried to run them down himself, he'd fail no matter how fast his legs were.
It's about using the tools, the resources, the people.
Exactly. Han Feitsu even says that using the right advantages allows even mere bondmen and bondwomen to succeed. It's about leverage.
There's another, maybe simpler image. The proverb of the blind hen and the sighted hen. The blind hen scratches away, works hard, finds the grain, but the sighted hen just hangs around.
And eats what the blind hen uncovers. Doesn't have to lift a claw, basically.
Yeah.
Spares her tender feet, gets the reward. Stark, isn't it?
Very. Okay, so that's leveraging work. But what about the dark side, the outright theft of credit, especially when big rewards are involved?
Well, for a really grim example of failing to protect your discovery, is essentially transgressing this law by being too open look at Vasco Núñez de Balboa, early 16th century. He was obsessed with finding El Dorado, the city of gold. He endured incredible hardship and eventually found evidence of the Incan Empire in Peru. Huge discovery.
The potential for immense riches.
Immense. But his mistake. He didn't keep it quiet. Word got out among all the other conquistadors. And just a few years later, one of his own soldiers, Francisco Pizarro, was involved in getting Balboa accused of treason and beheaded. And then Pizarro. He went on to conquer the Incas himself, seizing the very riches Balboa had spent years searching for. Balboa did the legwork. Pizarro got the prize.
Brutal. Okay, so Balboa is the warning. What about someone who mastered this, who made it look like they did everything?
Peter Paul Rubens, the painter. A master class in observance. Later in his career, he was swamped with commissions, couldn't possibly paint them all himself. So he set up this incredible studio system. He had dozens of highly skilled painters, each specializing in something, different robes, backgrounds, animals, whatever. It was like an assembly line for masterpieces. Multiple canvases being worked on at once.
A painting factory, almost.
Pretty much. But here's the clever part. When important clients came to visit, Rubens would send all his assistants away. The client would watch from a balcony, maybe, and Rubens would be down there, dabbing a bit of paint here, a stroke there, looking intensely busy. He created this perfect illusion that he was the sole genius, working tirelessly, that godlike aura of efficiency the law talks about.
That's brilliant in a way. And this idea extends beyond just hiring assistants, doesn't it? The whole standing on the shoulders of giants concept.
Exactly. That's a huge part of it. Isaac Newton famously said it, right? He acknowledged his work was built on centuries of previous discoveries. He was brilliant, no doubt, but part of his genius was his ability to synthesize and build upon past knowledge, making it seem like his own breakthrough. Think about Shakespeare, too. We know he borrowed heavily plots, characters from writers like Plutarch.
He didn't invent Hamlet out of thin air.
Not entirely. He transformed it, yes, but he used existing material. And today, think about politicians and their speeches. How many actually write those soaring lines themselves? Often it's a speechwriter doing the heavy lifting, crafting the words. In all these cases, others do a lot of the work. The person at the front takes the credit. It's a form of power available to almost anyone, really. You use the past, use others' knowledge, and you can look like a genius, even if you're just a very clever borrower.
Okay, so the power here is undeniable. But it feels, well, ruthless. It raises a big question. Is taking credit always the smart play? Are there times when it's actually better not to?
Yes. This is where the reversal comes in. The law isn't absolute. The book makes it clear. If your own power isn't solid, If you're not securely established, then trying to grab all the credit can seriously backfire. You risk looking like a fraud, like you're pushing people aside unfairly. People might accuse you of deception. To pull this off effectively, your position needs to be pretty much unshakable.
Yeah.
And crucially, you need to be careful if you have a master above you. Don't look too greedy in front of the boss, basically.
That makes sense. So it's about knowing your place in the hierarchy, too. There's that example involving Nixon's trip to China, right? That was a huge deal, historically.
Massive. Nixon's idea, his initiative, but the actual diplomacy, the incredibly sensitive groundwork to make it happen, that was largely Henry Kissinger.
His Secretary of State.
Right. Kissinger did brilliant, delicate work behind the scenes. It might not have succeeded without him, but when the visit was a triumph, Kissinger very skillfully let Nixon bask in the glory. He took a step back, let the president have the lion's share of the public credit.
Why, if he did the work?
Because he understood the game.
Yeah.
He knew his contributions would eventually be recognized by historians, by those in the know, but grabbing the spotlight from his boss, President Nixon, at that moment, that would have been foolish, potentially damaging to his own position, so he played it perfectly. He might take credit from those below him, sure, but he graciously gave credit for his own work upwards. That's a really sophisticated way to navigate these power dynamics.
Right, that adds a whole other layer.
Oh.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into Law 7? It seems clear, first, that getting credit is just as vital as doing the work, maybe more so sometimes. Second, strategically using other people's efforts, past or present, is key for efficiency and projecting that aura of competence. And third, there's this critical nuance. Knowing when to take all the credit and when it's actually smarter politics to share it, especially upwards.
Exactly. And look, understanding this stuff isn't about suddenly becoming some kind of manipulative mastermind. It's really about awareness, recognizing how these dynamics often play out in the real world, in workplaces, in history. It's about protecting your own work, your own contributions. What's really fascinating is just how clearly these historical stories illustrate these sometimes uncomfortable truths.
Definitely makes you think. And for everyone listening, how does this land with you? How do you see this balance or imbalance between individual effort and strategic leverage playing out in your own field, your own experiences? What really stands out?
And maybe a final thought to chew on, related to those images the book uses. The image, the vulture, and that quote from Balthazar Gracian. Life is not life without knowledge. It is therefore an excellent device to acquire knowledge from everybody. Thus, by the sweat of another's brow, you win the reputation of being an oracle. End quote. Knowing this law, seeing these examples, does it change how you view success or successful people? And where do you draw the line, personally, between learning from others and, well, taking credit? Does knowing this change anything about how you operate? Something to consider.